September's annual arrival starts a fire under festival season in the Carolinas. You can expect the calendar to be full from now until the first winter air takes the last fall leaves and makes it too cold to stand around outside. Of course, if you're living and working in the barbecue world, a catering and competition, a full festival calendar is a year-round thing on the weekends. So's that beer festival calendar. Today, we're combining barbecue and fall festivals into one episode, throwing in some brews too. And we're going to find out all about the Bessemer City Brew and Q. It's coming up September 21st from noon until 9 p.m. To do that, we're going to talk to Joe D. Franklin for Bessemer City. Joe D., welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. We're excited to be on here and excited for our event coming up.
Great, and can't wait to hear a little bit more about that. Also joining us today, ladies and gentlemen, it's barbecue royalty, Chris Fulmer from Ultimate Tailgaters BBQ in Aiken, South Carolina, the 2024 Southern BBQ Network Cook Team of the Year, and winner of the Cook Team of the Year recognition 4 of the past 5 years. Sir, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate being here. I don't know about royalty. I'm just a fat guy that slings a trailer around and cooks a little barbecue. So I appreciate the kind words.
Well, clearly you're a standout fat guy in a whole barbecue world full of fat guys that do the same thing. So I want to start with you. I'm going to come back to you, Joe D, and find out all about the barbecue festival because these two things are kind of tied up together. But first, Chris, let's talk about Ultimate Tailgaters BBQ. What is that?
Okay. Well, it kind of came about. A lot of people know I'm a big South Carolina fan, Gamecock. So we started a tailgate group back in the early 90s, actually 1994, called the Ultimate Tailgaters. We kind of sit around one time after tailgating and trying to figure out a name for ourselves. And we thought we were the ultimate tailgating. So, hey, Ultimate Tailgaters. So it started, and big tailgate group, and go to all the South Carolina games and home games, away games, so forth. So it just kind of started out, and already had a love for cooking. I grew up in the grocery business. My dad had 3 grocery stores growing up. So my mom was an unbelievable cook, like a lot of people's moms, but my mom was unbelievable. So had a love for cooking and being around food, and, started feeding our group around the tailgate groups and so forth, and started getting more of the bug per se, and got into the 2000s, still doing a lot of tailgating. And my wife and I got into these tailgating contests and started competing and started winning some stuff, and won the SEC tailgating contest like 2 years in a row, and just kind of getting the bug. And then I found out about competition barbecue, and once that happened, it was all over. So I started back in, I think, 2009. We cooked in our first we cooked in the KCBS contest, which we kind of went backwards. You should really go backyards and start, but we thought we were pretty good, and we got in there and got our feelings hurt pretty good. So, but I learned from an early time that you got to befriend some, get to know some folks and know what they're doing, and so I did that. Started learning some folks and started learning the tips and tricks and so forth. And we've advanced on, and went from 2 cars and 2 canopies and a old Lang smoker, and now I got a 28-foot look-on trailer that's got a kitchen on it and a porch on the back, and all the fun things. So we've come a long way in 15 years of barbecue. So.
Yeah. Well, that's a fantastic story. And I know we'll kind of unpack some of that journey as we go through our conversation today. But first, I want to talk about, this year's big championship, the Southern BBQ Network. I mentioned it kind of there in the open. You've won in 2020, 2021, 23. This would be 24. What does it mean to you to win those championships there with Southern BBQ Network in such a consistent manner?
Well, it's a lot of pride for us, obviously, because if anybody that's on here listening or is cooked in barbecue, it's a big brotherhood, family, just like with tailgating. That's what kind of really why we enjoy it so much. You see a lot of the same people on the barbecue trail, and of course, everybody knows the big thing is to get a call and walk the stage, as we call it, and that's always an honor among your peers, but especially to be a team of the year. Amongst a lot of great teams that obviously cook on Southern BBQ. So it means a lot for us, and a lot of the hard work that we put in, my wife and I, the things we do, not only at the contest, but in our preparation. And, some people don't understand is you just don't, pull up and start cooking. I mean, for us, we've got recipes that we continue to work on and tweak, and we have timelines and things, and depending on the contest, where you're at, and when the turn-ins are. So it's just a lot more that people probably don't realize that goes on behind the scenes with this. So.
Yeah, it is definitely an involved process, and will, like you said, keep you very busy if you get really, really deep into it. Now, hey, obviously, you said you've been doing it here for quite a number of years in the competition realm, and seen a lot of success over the last several years in this particular environment. Is there anything in 2024, this past competition season, that stood out for you that feel like helped you guys see success that maybe you didn't have to deal with last year or the years before?
Well, I'm an old sports guy, and so my motto is sometimes you got to get back to basics, right? And just don't get too cute with stuff. So we kind of went back to a couple of our old recipes, and we have a saying called less is more. This meaning don't try to do so much, just do what you do and do it well. And the biggest thing in competition barbecue is obviously you want yours to stand out. They're going to take one bite. They take 2 bites, then hopefully, you got them then. But don't make it so complicated, even though there's a lot that goes into it. Sometimes I guess, you dumb it down, make it where you can just do it like getting on a bike. And so we really try to have more of a easier process and have it nailed down. So we pulled in the contest, we knew what our game plan was. Don't take a bunch of sauces. Whatever's your pork sauce, that's it. Whatever your rib sauce, that's it. Don't even bring something like, well, let's try this when we get there. No, we're going. This is our game plan. We're rolling in with that, and and that's what we really did. We're just trying to get back to the basics, really. So.
That's some good advice for you guys and your team in the past year. If I'm somebody starting out into competition barbecue, maybe what is some other advice you would offer?
I mean, one of the biggest things is, start out slow, try the backyard, and then befriend some people. I think you'll find that most everybody on the barbecue trail is very nice, approachable. Obviously, you don't want to knock on the door at 8:30 on a 9 o'clock turn-in, but get to know people on a Friday, or if it's a Thursday night on KCBS, get to know some folks. You can find out the folks, and there's maybe whatever type smoker you have, try to find somebody that has a similar smoker. So, and they're not gonna nobody's gonna give all the recipes obviously, but they'll give you some tips and tricks that I think will make it a lot easier. A lot of times when I pull up and I see people that are starting out and they've got a canopy and things like that, they've brought so much. So that, and I did the same thing, don't get me wrong, but just try to get there, get your meat trimmed and get it on at a proper time, allow yourself enough time. Don't go crazy with the sauces and spices. Learn how to cook the meat properly and get it done properly and get it in the box. But people try to do too much, I think. So don't try to do too much. Just try to do as little as possible. And then keep adding things as you go along and learning stuff.
That's good advice. Keep it to the basics and then seek out some insight from other experts in the world. What if I'm somebody that's been doing this for a long time? What if I'm another Chris Fulmer out there that's been doing it but haven't really been able to crack through and get those calls to walk the stage, like you say? Yeah. What's some advice for somebody there to finally get through and get that championship?
Find somebody that is winning. Go try to pick their brain if they'll allow it. And there's a lot of barbecue classes out there. I mean, they're all over the country, but try to find one that, obviously if you're low and slow, don't go a hot and fast cook and vice versa. But you've seen in the last 10 years, especially 5 years, barbecue classes have exploded, even on online stuff. There's wealth of information out there, but I think that's the thing. And I find a lot of people, if they're struggling, a lot of times they're getting a bad score and they're changing weekly. I mean, you gotta try something, and just because you didn't hit on it, don't run away from it. And so give it a couple times maybe, and then if it's not working, then go to something else. But people trying to change so many things at one time, I think just tweak something, see how it goes. If it doesn't, all right, then we're going to plan B. So we do. People ask me, hey, when you go to SBN or you go to KCBS, so you change your recipes? No, I don't. I mean, there's a couple of things we can do at the end when you're on your turn-ins, but I don't change anything. Whether I'm cooking South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, everybody talks about, they're more vinegar and all. I don't worry about that. And I'm still trying to get there, get my meat trimmed, get stuff turned in on time. So don't get overwhelmed by stuff. So I think people just try to change too much, really.
Great. Now that's a great introduction there to the Ultimate Tailgaters BBQ and the competition barbecue. Mr. Franklin's waited patiently. I want to find out about the Bessemer City Brew and Q that's going to be coming up. And I know that Chris and you guys, I think, are going to be participating in it. So, Joe D. Franklin, let's hear about it. What is the Bessemer City Brew and Q?
Well, this is our third year of actually having the title of the festival be the Brew and Q. We started out, we've always kind of had a fall festival, but we felt like it was missing something. So we do throughout the summer, and that's our summer concert event. But September brings out the fall, and what says fall better than barbecue?
Yeah. So
we started out with a kind of more or less like a local competition. We did reach out to some teams that we knew in the local area 3 years ago, and had about 6 or 7 teams. Last year, we partnered up with the Southern BBQ Network, and they helped us bring in some competition teams and actually led us through how a barbecue competition is supposed to be ran. And met Chris and his wife last year. They are the defending champions this year, coming back to our town. And we do appreciate that. And they've helped us get the word out. So 3 years ago, we had a concert planned. We were missing something. It was fall. Let's turn it into a festival. Let's pair it with local breweries to come in. We already had the band scheduled, so we've kept that portion of it. We've brought in some fall craft vendors, and so we just made it more festive. And it's our third annual Brew and Q Festival, so it's our fall festival. And signing on with the Southern BBQ Network was the best thing we ever did. And they come in and they are willing to help us any way they can. They're willing to help any of the teams the best that they can. And it's a good group of people to work with. And so we were fortunate to find them and be able to work with them.
And that's a nice little backstory there for Bessemer City Brew and Q. And again, sort of the evolution of the event from Fall Festival into something, maybe a little bit more specific to the barbecue and to the craft beer. And I see again this year you've got September 21st. It's going to be going from noon until 9 p.m. in downtown Bessemer City. Still got a music concert, as I see on your website at bessemercity.com/brew and Q. The concert's at 6 p.m. at Centennial Park. Landslide, the Fleetwood Mac cover band, is going to be performing there. So that should be a great concert. Well, what should folks expect when they're coming out looking for barbecue and seeing that competition, Joe D?
Well, the barbecue teams will come in around noon on Friday, start setting up their rigs, and we'll have the Pitmasters meeting at 5 o'clock. After that meeting, they're actually going to have a judges certification class. So SBN is going to invite people to come and get certified as a judge, not knowing whether they'll be a judge for our competition, but they'll be able to go out to other competitions that the SBN sponsoring and be judges there as well. So it is a certified contest. So but when you come in on Friday night, if you want to walk around and like Chris was saying, just pick the brains of these folks. They're very approachable. They're willing to show you kind of their cookers and all that, show you their rigs, and the camaraderie amongst all the people on Friday night is really what it's all about when it comes to barbecue competitions. It's you're not sitting around a campfire, but you're sitting around smokers that are smoking, and people just pull up their chairs and talk to one another and just have a good time and spend time together up until late in the evening when things start slowing down, and then they start prepping for the next day and getting everything going. But then on Saturday, our festival will kick off at noon, and we'll have our beer vendors that'll be coming in. We'll have some food vendors that'll be coming in. Most of the competition teams, since they've been working since early morning on Friday all the way up through midday on Saturday, most of them, once the announcements of the winners and all have concluded, they will pull their rigs out and go home. And but we do have barbecue vendors that are going to be there that are not competition cooks, and they will be serving barbecue that day. But and we have other food vendors as well. But one thing that's kind of unique to what we do is we will provide the pork shoulders, the Boston butts to the teams. They will donate 1 or 2 of those back to us, chopped and prepared, and we give that to our local high school boosters, and they actually sell the competition barbecue in sandwiches.
Wow.
It's an opportunity for them to make money for the athletic program here at our local high school. So that's just kind of our way and the team's way of supporting a local, not necessarily charity, but supporting a local school. So that's a nice thing that we were able to make happen.
Yeah, a really cool connection there. And as somebody I'll speak, I've been broadcasting high school football and in the Hickory Metro of North Carolina, 20-ish years, I guess. And unfortunately, we don't cross paths in the Hickory teams in Bessemer City very often, but it is another great community. Like you talk about, there's a tight-knit barbecue community of guys supporting one another, and you find the same thing sort of in that high school football community, especially among the boosters, and you make some nice connections there, especially when you can combine multiple communities to barbecue and helping out something good there. So congratulations to you guys for supporting something cool like that. Now, what about you, Joe D? Do you do any barbecue smoking or pit mastering yourself?
Just at home, at home. I wished I could get more involved in stuff like that, but the job I have just keeps me. It keeps me moving on the weekends a lot of times, and I don't get to slow down enough to go take part in that. And but hopefully one day I'll get to travel around and maybe try my luck at some of that. So
well, hey, Saturday you can taste it. You do the easy stuff and just eat the barbecue and let these guys like Chris do all the hard work, right?
That's right. I'll come hang out with them until 10:30, 11 o'clock, and then I'll go home and get me a good night's sleep while they're up working. And
there you go. That's the easy.
And I'll sneak around the trailers about 9 o'clock in the morning and and most of the time they're saying, "Hey, come in here and taste this." So,
that's right. You know when to get there. That's smart thinking on your part. So I want to take it back to Chris now and talk just a little bit more about your barbecue journey and Ultimate Tailgaters journey. And he kind of told us you got into it through tailgating there at the Gamecock football games, and always love a great tailgate. It's a wonderful community there too. As you've come out of that and started your business, what do you feel like your specialty is? What do you guys do that's better than anything else?
I mean, probably our ribs is what we're kind of known for. I'd say that's our probably our signature thing. We cook a lot of pork, obviously, for competition, and have a catering business as well. We have Ultimate Tailgaters BBQ as a catering business, but we do a lot of stuff. And I just cook a lot of pork and chicken. Well, I just don't want to see any pork and chicken for a while, But I love ribs and probably brisket too. Obviously, we don't do much brisket on the SBN side. Just at their invitational and maybe one other contest, something, it's in KCBS. But ribs would probably be it. It's something that I've had my same recipe for many, many, many years and have really never deviated. We got a couple of things we do maybe when we wrap and on our turn in, but it's still pretty much my same rubs and same sauce I've been using forever. So
if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it, right?
Nah, that's exactly right. You got it. It's an old Joe Morrison saying.
Keep it basic. Hey, I want to take you into the tailgate world and maybe the catering. Tell me a little bit about what your catering business looks like.
Well, I mean, it's kind of neat how it all happened. We just started with the tailgate, and some people tasted our food and got kind of interested. And it's probably been maybe 10 years ago. And we started doing little small things here and there. And then all of a sudden, 6, 7 years ago, it just really exploded. And we started. We're obviously being a big sports fan. I have a lot of friends that are coaches, a lot of people in the high schools and colleges and so forth. So that's what really took us off. And actually, South Carolina, the University of South Carolina is my biggest client. I feed Gamecock football. I feed Gamecock baseball. All the sports teams. We feed them. In fact, we fed football last week. Went up there and fed all the coaches, players, and everybody. So that really kind of got us going, and being able to cook for lots of people or cook a lot of food, obviously. And we did over 100 events last year, so we stayed pretty busy. But do a lot of things for churches. We have a lot of churches we work with in the Aiken area, but we go all over. We've been to Atlanta, 2-3 times this year already, and done events up there. go all over South Carolina, Charleston area, up to the upstate. So we do a lot of traveling, and, anywhere from 25 to 500 people. But, we're all the Southern favorites. Most of our stuff is, pulled pork, barbecue chicken, baked beans, mac and cheese, coleslaw, banana pudding. If you don't do banana pudding, then probably need to get out of the barbecue business in the South, right? So,
Yeah.
but we try to keep it simple again on that. There's other things I can do, and we have, sometimes we'll do nice parties and people want tenderloin or appetizers. We can do that, but those things I just mentioned, 2 meat, 3 sides, kind of like your typical, meat and 3, type restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what our forte is, and kind of gets back to the same thing, do what you do and do it well. And so that's what we try to do. So, but, we obviously cook a lot of our stuff on smokers. We smoke our mac and cheese, our baked beans, ours has got 17 ingredients in it. So it's not just a can of baked beans thrown in there. It's, it's got, bell peppers and red peppers and onions and different spices and things. And so we smoke it for about 3 hours. So we, the way I look at it is, if I'm cooking for 50, or if I'm cooking for 500, we don't deviate away. I try to bring the same thing to everybody. That's the one thing you can control is quality of your food. And that's what will hopefully get you that call back. And so we have multiple people that, we just work with continually year after year, high schools, churches, all around here. So.
Yeah, and the catering gig there for the Gamecock Athletics is a cool connection too, and gets you into that community. And I wonder, how often are you able to get some feedback from some of those athletes, but particularly maybe some of the student athletes that don't always get barbecue, that are coming from some other part in the nation that maybe barbecues a hot dog or a hamburger, that get a sample of this, and what kind of reactions do you get from folks that maybe are first time introductions to barbecue through Ultimate Tailgaters?
That's a great question. It's pretty cool because we actually do a lot for players' families. In fact, we fed last week was Kentucky. The first Carolina game, we fed the Gamecock football players' parents. They have a big tailgate, so about 300 of them. So we got a lot of comments from parents coming up to us and talking to them like, hey, so-and-so only likes my mac and cheese, but now he says, he likes yours better. And so it's cool. When you're getting it from the mom, generally, that's usually a good sign, hopefully. But when you get some good feedback from players, there's probably a half a dozen guys in the last 3 years. I've actually catered their weddings for them that have played at Carolina. A couple of guys are in the NFL right now. I catered their wedding for them because I met them and, I got to know them, which is neat for me being a fan, that you get to know these guys on a more personal basis. It's not about football. It's about just getting to know them and their family and things like that. And got to be friends with these guys. And, a couple of them, I even thought about this. Hey, I'm going to get you to cater my wedding, man. I said, come on, you're not going to. And I got the call. We did it. So we actually fed wasn't a Gamecock football player involved, but it was a guy that used to be the nutritionist at Carolina. They got me started feeding Carolina football about 8 years ago. But we actually fed the LA Rams at the Super Bowl back in, I think it was 2018 when they played in Atlanta. So I got the call from a friend of mine who was a nutritionist, and we actually went to the Atlanta Falcon training facility, and we fed the LA Rams there for the Super Bowl. That was their last big practice that Thursday night, I think. So we went the day, and that was kind of a bucket list. That was kind of a cool thing.
No doubt.
That's the neat thing about barbecue. It's all the people you meet and the connections you make. And I'm fortunate that I've been around South Carolina a long time. I've met a lot of different people in different ways, and it connects you. Heck, I fed the University of Tennessee after a game at Carolina. I fed Georgia State because they had coaches on their team that had been here and gone there and remembered us and liked us, and then they gave us a call to feed them. So it's just endless, quite honestly, and it's just what I learned from my mom and dad growing up in the grocery business. Just treat people nice and do them right, and they'll call you. So that's what we try to do. Honestly, I know it seems kind of weird. It seems kind of like a silly statement, but hey, it works. Just treat them nice, give them good food, and they'll call you back. Don't worry.
Yeah, and they'll carry those same lessons along to the people they encounter along their own personal paths as you pass that along to them. So that's very cool. So I know you're working at a lot of these events, obviously, and very busy. It's a hard job. But do you ever get a chance to enjoy some of the places that you go? And if you do, are there any locations, and I'll just keep it into South Carolina, where if you could pick any spot to go and tailgate, where would it be?
Well, obviously we've been all over the place, and that's what's kind of hurt the tailgating side. As I've gotten into barbecue, we're getting a lot more calls to feed teams, and so I don't get to tailgate during the day and all. Well, I have to say, I'm obviously done so much at Columbia. There's places I've been to. Don't get me wrong, I've never really fed anybody. There's some pretty cool tailgate spots we've been to. I've got kind of I got kind of a little off topic. I got a weird streak going. I've been to 474 straight South Carolina games, so I haven't missed a game, home or away, since 1984.
Wow,
so
that is quite a streak.
It's kind of a weird thing that once we've gotten into barbecue, I love to cook, and obviously the fall, like with the Bessemer City, it's a great contest. You know, we love going to those kind of contests, especially downtown, and all the people that bring in. It's just a lot of fun, but it makes it tough tying barbecue and football in. So obviously we'll be at that when we have a night game, so it works out good for me. I can go up there and cook and hook up my trailer and haul butt for Columbia and make the game. But we've had a couple of close calls. Like we got invited to the Royal Oak Invitational last year, which is a very prestigious contest. Only about 35 teams in the country get invited from Royal Oak. So it was a road game, and we're short. I ended up having my wife do the turn-ins. I'd pretty much cooked everything, headed to Camrose. She had to finish up the chicken and all, but I had a friend come pick me up. Took me to Atlanta Airport. I flew into St. Louis, got a rental car, drove to Columbia, Missouri, went to the football game, got our butts whooped, unfortunately. Got back in my rental car, went and had some pizza, slept a couple hours, and took a flight out at 5 a.m., got back to Atlanta. And actually in 23 and a half hours, I had done all that and was standing back in front of my barbecue trailer, hooked it up, and we headed home for Aiken. So, just those kind of stories is what I enjoyed doing, is looking back and going, man, I can't believe we did that. And when they found out about it at South Carolina, they actually sent a film crew up to Atlanta. They actually did a kind of like did a story about us, about my streak and about my love for barbecue. Yeah. So they actually had sent a film crew up to Atlanta to film us at the competition. Then they had a film crew in Columbia, Missouri that filmed me. And then when we got done with that, when I got back to South Carolina that next following week, they did the final thing down toward the stadium. They filmed me tied it all in together. Pretty cool how it talked about tailgating, my years and growing up in the grocery business and going to the games with my parents. And it was really a cool video, and just kind of
made me appreciate that out in the world.
Yeah, I'll send that to you. I'll send that to you. Check it. They did a great job, and it just but it just reminded me it's still all about just meeting people and having relationships and just enjoying life, and how fortunate I am to be able to do this, to get to go to football games, be with my wife, see my friends. And, it's just a great ride. Because everybody asked me about my streak and about the numbers and all. I said, man, there's an old thing. It's not the first one. It's the last one. It's, it's all the memories in between. So that's what it's like, well, what are you trying to get to number? I was like, man, there is no number. Just enjoy the ride. One day there will be one I won't make, but trying to get to 500 though. I do have that kind of benchmark. Like when I get to 500, maybe we'll see, but I'm sure I'll keep on going. So
yeah, and that's some great perspective to have, particularly with football and particularly in a sport and in a conference, and maybe even I say a team that you have some ups and some downs, and sometimes it can be hard to be a fan for 500 consecutive games there, Chris. But that's a commitment to stick it out there.
Home. Yeah, there've been some long ride homes from Texas, Missouri, and so forth. So, but I've never, and that was weird last year. I'd never flown to a game. Our thing is we like to drive because the tailgaters, we got to take we got to take the coolers, we got to take the tables, we got to take the TV. That it used to be satellite, now you stream and all, but we take all this equipment to tailgate. And it was weird last year being by myself and hopping on a plane. And I got to say, I got a little used to that. I'm like, man, it's pretty cool. I mean, I just flew home from Missouri an hour and a half, and it takes me 14 hours. So, but we're still driving. Well, I'm flying actually this year at the Royal Oak. It's we play at Oklahoma, which was the worst possible road game to hit and an early game. So, but I got a flight booked out of Atlanta Saturday morning. My wife will be there she's got to do a little bit more of the cooking and turn in. So we're going to be doing some practicing and all, so to get her ready for this one. So.
Right. Well, kind of going back to that competition piece of it, it sounds like it's definitely a team operation. It's not just you out there.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. Well, she pretty much does all kind of the boxing and all. I pretty much do the cooking. She kind of keeps me on point per se. And I pretty much and she's the taster too. I don't really taste much of the meat, strange enough. I mean, I've been cooking it. And it's just something about, you don't feel like eating it, but she does the tasting. She tastes the pork. She tastes the ribs and whatever else we're doing. I pretty much, rely on what she has to say. And I try to get in the box, and she does all the pretty stuff, make sure we don't, have any marks in there and all that kind of fun stuff that you do for your parents. So it's a team effort, and that's what we've learned too. Is I try to do what I do and do it right. And she does what she does, and she runs the boxes. And while she's got the box going, then I'm in there, prepping the next stuff. So it's a team effort for us. And there's some other husband and wife teams out there, not really on SBN, maybe a couple, but you see, there's a pretty good amount on KCBS. As well. So, but there's some trying moments in the trailer sometimes too. There's some headbutting, some chest bumping, so it gets a little chaotic sometimes. But
it's hot in there too, good. Right? That doesn't help.
Well, luckily for us, that's one thing I learned too. Traveling around the South and barbecue competitions, make sure if you get a trailer, get a good air conditioner. So we have a nice air unit on our trailer. So, but yeah, we do get a little hot under the collar sometimes. It gets a little stressful, and that's what it's about though, and it's what people may not understand either. I mean, it's a competition, and we when I pull up, I want to win. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wish everybody the best of luck, but I'm there to win it, so
sure,
we take a lot of pride, and we pull up with our trailer, and we want to make sure we do it right, and it's always nice to be that last one to walk the stage.
So can you estimate, or do you have a number on how many competitions you do in a year, or maybe last year?
Yeah, we do. We average about 20, 22 a year on average, pretty much. So we do probably the brunt of ours in the spring. Not as many as in the summertime, just because of the heat and so forth. And then we're able to squeeze in about 4 or 5 in the fall. We try to look at the football schedule, and obviously if it's a road game, other than the Swirl Oak Invitational, I don't do them on road games. But if it's a home game and I'm in South Carolina, or like with these folks, it's in 2 weeks to Bessemer City. We ended up with the night game. If I can cook and do football, then it's a great weekend for me. So that's what we love to do now. It kind of cuts into our tailgating, unfortunately, because our other folks are back there, kind of waiting on us and got our spot there. But if I can go cook and then do football, then that's a complete weekend for me. So.
Yeah, and on that particular weekend there for the Bessemer City Brew and Q, Gamecocks have the Akron Zips, as I'm sure you know, kickoff 7:30. So plenty of time to be there in Bessemer City and make it back to Columbia for the ball game. So you got any kind of guess on how many miles or states you cover in a year doing both the football and the competitions?
That's probably one we've got to come up with. That's the big joke I get from people sometimes too, is when you're going to write your book. And I would like to do that, because we've had some incredible road trips and stories with our tailgate group, and even on the barbecue trail. But yeah, that's a great question. I got to look that up. I don't know how many, probably several, 200,000-300,000 miles I've done, since '84, traveling I don't know about the country, but the Southeast, doing these games. And since, like I said, we drive, that's the only one I flew to was last year. So it's a lot of miles, certainly. So the barbecue trail is not as we don't probably travel as far. We qualified for the World Food Championship back-to-back years, and we actually drove to Las Vegas. I actually pulled a smoker to Las Vegas, Nevada.
Wow.
And competed in the World Barbecue Championship back-to-back years, which we qualified through winning some SBN contests, actually. So that was really neat. So we enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, great. So kind of coming to the end of our time, before we want to wrap up, I'm going to hit the showdown here. But Joe D, I want to give you an opportunity here. Just remind everybody, we got the Bessemer City Brew and Q Festival coming up Saturday, September 25th, noon to 9 p.m. If I'm listening out there, why should I come to this festival?
Well, obviously for the barbecue, but for the fun, for the fellowship, it's good, free, family friendly atmosphere. We've got a great band. We've got a good lead-up band that will be playing before the landslide. We pride ourselves on being a small town that, very friendly. People are going to come up and talk to you. The mayor's going to come up and welcome you to our town. And we love to have outsiders come into our town. That's the reason we put these events on, is to let people that may not ever come to Bessemer City, or may not have even ever heard of Bessemer City, give them a reason to come to our town and to see the friendly small town atmosphere that we put out there. And for that reason alone, it's worth the trip to Gaston County and Bessemer City. So
yeah, a great way to point that out too, Joe D. And just for folks who don't know, Bessemer City's in Gaston County. It's about 30 miles, between 30 and 40 miles, pretty due west of Charlotte. It's about 40 minutes. Coincidentally, it's about 40 minutes from Hickory, almost about 40 miles as well, pretty south. And I'm based in Hickory, so I'm going to do my very best to try to make it down to the competition there on September 21st. Want to meet you guys, meet some of these great tailgaters and the pitmasters that I've met through the Southern BBQ Network coming up here.
One more thing, if there's any teams out there.
And before we wrap it up, I've mentioned the Low and Slow Showdown. And so, yeah, great. So want to put you through it here, Chris. Just some quick one-word answers for some of these questions here. So first of all, Chris, your favorite wood and why?
Pecan. Very subtle, not as strong as hickory.
Okay. What is your favorite protein to cook? Is it pork, beef, chicken, turkey, or something else?
Probably pork, I guess. I do so much of it. Pork.
Okay. What is your favorite to actually eat?
Brisket.
What's your favorite side?
Beer.
That's probably the best answer we've had to that.
Yeah, that's got to say a good cold beer.
Nothing wrong with that. They're going to get harder from here, though, Chris. What is the best United state in these United States for barbecue?
What was the best state?
The best state, yep.
Oh, South Carolina. Got to be South Carolina barbecue. Absolutely. Okay,
so what is the best Carolina style? Is it Eastern, Western, or mustard?
Whew, well, that's a tough one. I mean, I'm actually kind of a vinegar fan, but I mean, ours is a little bit of a mix. That's mine. I hate to use the word, but it's kind of a combo. If you don't have mustard sauce around here, then you're in trouble. In the Columbia area, you got to have a mustard sauce, and we do a homemade one. So I think it's just a personal preference. Whatever you like, what makes you feel good, eat it, enjoy it.
Good answer. Is it better with or without sauce?
Better be better without.
Is barbecue a verb or a noun?
I'm gonna say verb.
And that, my friends, is the lowdown from the ultimate Tailgaters BBQ Pitmaster, Chris Fulmer, as well as Joe D. Franklin from Bessemer City Brew and Q. Again, that's coming up September 21st from noon to 9 p.m. in downtown Bessemer City. Gentlemen, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on. Look forward to going to Bessemer City and appreciate Southern BBQ Network. Great group of guys. So
absolutely.
They definitely are.
See you next week, Chris.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You've been listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show on the Mesh.tv network of podcast. Be sure to visit us online at lowslowbbqshow.com. That's where you find the blog. You can hear other podcast episodes. If you like what you hear in the Low and Slow Barbecue Show, please be sure to give us that 5-star rating. It helps other people find our podcast so they can hear it too and find out all about our pitmasters and barbecue events like the Bessemer City Brew and Q Festival. When you visit lowslowbbqshow.com, you can also subscribe to our newsletter, The Lowdown. We'll send you the latest podcasts, blogs, recipes, more barbecue events on the Southern BBQ Network Trail, as well as others around the region. I got a big South Carolina versus North Carolina showdown for the Smithfield Cup coming up in October. We've got all the details in the lowdown. Just sign up. We'll send all that and more to your inbox every Tuesday morning. Special thanks to our guest, Chris Fulmer from Ultimate Tailgaters Barbecue and Jody Franklin from Bessemer City Brew and Q. Thanks as well to our producer, Andrew Moose. Of course, we do it all with his help and with the help from the whole team at the Mesh.tv network of podcast. Thank you for listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. Remember, for the best barbecue and the best barbecue podcast, make it low and slow.